In this video, we're going to go over an example of how to construct a frequency distribution. If you don't yet have any notes on this, these are 6 steps that you can write down in your notes to follow. I'm going to be demonstrating all 6 of these steps as we go along. The first thing that you're going to have is a set of data in front of you. Sometimes it's going to have context and sometimes it's not. If it has context like this is 18 different quiz scores and it's in points, that's going to be helpful for labeling the very top of the frequency distribution. If you have a large set of data in front of you, what might be helpful is if you first sort the data on a calculator of some sort, or you could just do it by hand manually. I'm going to demonstrate how to do this on the graphing calculator in case you were curious. The first thing you're going to want to do is turn your calculator on. And just by pressing the on button, you're going to come to stat, and then you're going to use the edit feature. If you already have data in your columns, the way that you clear it out is by pressing up, clear, and enter. So up, clear, and enter, and your lists are cleared off. From there, you're going to go ahead and type in your data. So once your data is typed into the first list, so I'm demonstrating it here actually in the second list, so ignoring the first list. So if I manually enter in all of these data values, we can then sort the data once we finished it. So it doesn't matter which list we're in. So we're going to come to stat. We're going to go to sort A, which is for ascending in order from least to greatest. And I just need to specify the list. So second 2 would indicate L2. If it was in list 1, it would be 1. And we can now confirm that the list has been put in order from least to greatest by doing that. So that might be easier for us to proceed with when it comes times to making a frequency distribution and you need to quickly see any data in order from least to greatest. For now, we're going to go ahead and just leave it alone and proceed to the second step that we need to construct the frequency distribution, which is to calculate the class width. So the first thing that we're going to do is write down the formula that helps us determine this. The class width can be abbreviated with CW, and it's always going to be the maximum number minus the minimum number divided by the number of classes. So if you had listed it in order from least to greatest, it's really easy and quick to see what the smallest number is versus what the largest number is. So the smallest number here is our minimum, so that's 40. Our largest number is our maximum, that's 94. And we want to produce a frequency distribution with 5 classes. That's usually the best number to go with, especially if you're working with small data. So five classes. If we do 94 minus 40, that gives us 54. If we grab our calculator, 54 divided by 5 gives us 10.8. So this is really important to ensuring that you construct your frequency distribution correctly. Please make a note to yourself that you will always round up. Okay, even if this number was 10.2, you will round up to the next whole number. If this answer here was just 10, no decimals, no remainders, you're still going to round up to the next whole number. Okay, write that down, highlight it, give yourself that reminder. And if you remember that, almost always you will be able to produce a frequency distribution with no mistakes. So our class width here will be 11. And now let's proceed to the next step. Okay, so we are going to notice how I rewrote my data out in order from least to greatest here. I took the information from the graphing calculator, rewrote that out, and now it's time to actually start making that frequency distribution. So it's going to be just a nice little t-table here. And as I mentioned before, if you had context, that's where this part is going to be helpful for. You don't just put the word classes. You always put it in context of whatever you have. So here we had quiz scores and our units are points. And then this column is always going to be your frequency. So from here, we need to start by identifying the minimum value. That's going to be the first number that goes in the frequency distribution as our very first lower class limit value. From there, we're going to use the class width that we calculated to get the next lower class limit of 51. And then we're going to continue that process. Keep using the class width to get your next lower class value, your next lower class value, until you have 5 full classes. From there, we're going to calculate the upper class limits, which in my opinion, I think is pretty easy once you have all of your lower class limits. It's always just going to be the previous whole number. So if this is 51, it's going to be 50, 62, 61. There's a couple ways that you could get this last number here, right? Just like we use all of the class widths to calculate these, which you could also have done here, plus 11, plus 11, plus 11. So if you continue that process, plus 11 would give you the very last upper class limit here. You could have also gone in your head one step further. So 84 plus 11 would be 95, and then minus 1. Okay, up to you on that. But again, just like I demonstrated here, to get the lower class values, it might be really a good way to double check that these values are correct is just make sure that it's the same class width each time. So from here, we finish our frequency distribution by tallying up how often are data values in between each of these values here. So you could make a little tally system on your own, but your final answer for the frequency distribution will just be this region right here. No tally marks, no plus signs on it. So I'm actually going to finish this problem without doing tally marks. So what I'm going to do is use my sorted list here to help me. So there's only one number between 40 and 50. So between 51 and 61, okay, that's these two numbers. So that's a frequency of 2. Between 62 and 72, that's 4 quiz scores. So I would put a 4. And then between 73 and 83, that's another 4. Between 84 and 94, 84 up all the way to 94. And that's another good way to double check that you made your frequency distribution correctly, is that your maximum should be in that last range of values, which ours is. And there's 7. Another thing you should also double check is that all of these data values add up to the total frequency that you originally were given, which is 18. So as a final remark, these plus signs, these little comments to you of how I arrived at these answers will not be part of your final answer for a frequency distribution. What I just boxed right here in green is going to be your final answer. Good luck.